Welcome back to Katana TCG. In this week's early deck preview, we're taking a look at Regieleki VMAX. This is a really cool card coming out in Silver Tempest early November. Seems to have a very linear style of play. However, the Pokemon that we have partnered it with in this list has seen nothing short of success in this current standard format. So let's go ahead and dive into this video. When it's time to flex on your opponents in Top Cut this season, or even just upgrade your TCG accessories, make sure you're checking out inkgaming.com. They have a wide variety of custom playmats, custom dice bags, face masks, as well as mouse pads too, and a grip of sleeves and dice and deck boxes, all your TCG accessory needs. And you can use the code DADSPOD10 at checkout for 10% off your entire order from inkgaming.com. Your game, your style. Here's an overview of my Regieleki VMAX list, but before we dive into what all the other cards do, let's go ahead and read what Regieleki VMAX does. Regieleki V has 200 HP for 1 lightning energy. It does Switch Bolt for 30 damage, and you switch this Pokemon with one of your benched Pokemon. And then for 1 lightning and 2 colorless, it does Lightning Wall for 100 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes 100 less damage, which is pretty substantial. And then Regieleki VMAX has 310 HP with the ability Transistor. Your basic lightning Pokemon's attacks do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. We don't have a very wide pool of basic lightning attackers right now that have that much versatility, but I think that there is definitely room in the future, as it doesn't pertain to specifically V Pokemon with the new EXs coming out in the next Scarlet and Violet set. This could see a lot of play in the future, hopefully to suppress things like Palkia. And then for 1 lightning and then 2 colorless, it does Max Thunder and Lightning for 220 damage, and during your next turn, this Pokemon can't attack. It does have a free retreat cost, which is substantial. You're looking for a very strong partner for Regieleki VMAX in terms of basic lightning attackers. There's probably none more versatile than Vikavolt V. It has 210 HP. For 1 lightning and 1 colorless, it does Paralyzing Bolt for 50 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, they can't play any item cards from their hand. This is huge, and with 3 transistor abilities on the bench, because it is a stackable ability, you can bump Paralyzing Bolt up to 140 damage, which takes 1-hit knockouts on one of the strongest cards in the format in the form of Palkia V-Star. For 2 lightning and 1 colorless, you do Super Zap Cannon for 190 damage. You discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. It does have a 3 retreat cost, which makes it a little bit hefty. However, Vikavolt is very, very strong with Regieleki VMAX, and I think that the potential to item lock plus take 1-hit knockouts on things like Palkia is going to be incredibly hard to deal with in the future format. So let's go ahead and dive into the rest of the list. The Rapion V has 210 HP. It is a dark Pokemon with the ability Wild Style. This Pokemon's attacks cost 1 colorless less for each of your opponent's Rapid Strike, Single Strike, and Fusion Strike Pokemon in play. Its attack Dynamic Tail for 4 colorless deals 190 damage and also does 60 damage to one of your Pokemon. It's really just here to tilt the Mew matchup in our favor, as their whole board is typically full of all things Fusion Strike, allowing it to attack for free into Mew that is eternally weak to Dark. We're also running 1 Starmie V as a tertiary attacker. It does have Swift, which is a shred attack that can cut through things like Miltank if we absolutely needed to. However, it's really not here for that. For 2 water, it does Energy Spiral for 50 times damage. We're accelerating energy from the discard pile in the form of water energy with Melanie to hopefully get that going second turn 1 Paralyzing Bolt on Vikavolt. But this makes it so we can realistically use Starmie very effectively too. If your opponent can't play any item cards from their hand, what are they going to do every turn? They're going to attach energy to stuff, and Energy Spiral can definitely punish your opponent for doing just that. We're running Radiant Greninja to be able to streamline energies into the discard pile and draw into the necessary resources we need to continue the item lock and really apply a lot of pressure to our opponent. We are running a Lumineon to hopefully get that turn 1 Melanie going second to Paralyzing Bolt as soon as we can. We're running 1 Crobat to draw and hopefully get resources with its Dark Acid ability, allowing you to draw until you have 6 cards in your hand. We're running 3 Melanie that allow us to accelerate a water energy from the discard pile onto one of our Pokemon V and draw 3 cards. We're playing 3 Marnie to hopefully disrupt our opponent's hand while item locking them with Paralyzing Bolt and forcing them into uncomfortable board state positions where they really cannot have a solid rebuttal. We are running one Raihan because that's just what I do in my decks, but also being able to set up a Vikavolt out of the blue with something like Raihan post knockout is incredibly powerful. We are running one Avery to be able to draw 3 cards and then shorten our opponent's bench by 3, leaving them in very, very disadvantageous positions, hopefully letting us capitalize on things like continuing to lock our opponent out and giving them access to fewer and fewer things each turn. We're running 4 Quick Ball, we are running 4 Ultra Ball, we are running 4 Trekking Shoes to really streamline getting that turn 1 Paralyzing Bolt as easily as we can. We're running 2 Switch because we really don't want to get stuck behind Gallimine. We're running 2 Cape Toughness to be able to bump up Vikavolt V's HP up to 260, which is very, very close to V-Star range in this current format. We are running 2 Forest Seal Stones. This is another cool thing that's coming out in Silver Tempest. The Pokemon V this card is attached to can use this V-Star power and Star Alchemy. During your turn, you may search your deck for any one card, put it in your hand, and then shuffle your deck. You can't use more than 1 V-Star power per game, but this gives Regieleki VMAX, Regieleki V, Crobat, Lumineon, Vikavolt V, any of the V attackers that we have in this deck, the ability to do basically half of a Starbirth, allowing us to go into our deck and grab one single card to really streamline that going second, turn 1 Paralyzing Bolt to just lock our opponent completely out of the game. You can only use this one time because it is the V-Star power that you use. However, it's very, very, very powerful. We're also running a Camo Poncho, which is another really cool card that's coming out in Silver Tempest. If the Pokemon this card is attached to is a Pokemon V-Star or a Pokemon V-Max, whenever your opponent plays a supporter card from their hand, prevent all effects of that card done to this Pokemon. This is pretty cool in the sense that you cannot be gusted into the active with things like Boss's Orders. It does not negate the effects of Cross Switcher as those are items. However, we are Paralyzing Bolt every single turn to prevent being Cross Switchered at any point in the game. So this is really a good prevention because if your opponent cannot play any items out of their hand, there are opportunities for them to want to boss stall you into the active, getting you trapped behind your own Gallimines that you play, and this prevents just that. We are playing 1 copy of Stormy Mountains to get lightning Pokemon directly from the deck and put them directly onto our bench. Playing 2 copies of the Gallimine Stadium that I had mentioned before. The retreat cost of both active Pokemon is now 2 colorless, more with Gallimine in play. This is a really, really cool feature in a deck like this. If you are item locking your opponent, they are unable to play things like Rope, Scoop Up Net, Switch to get out of the active, so getting them stuck like this is great. And if they attach a bunch of energy to their active Pokemon to get out of the Gallimine, you can then capitalize on them with things like Starmie. We are playing 4 Speed Lightning Energy to be able to draw 2 cards when you attach this to a Lightning Pokemon. It also fulfills a 1 Lightning cost on your Lightning Pokemon, which is super duper sick. We are playing 1 copy of Double Turbo Energy. This is a really back and forth iffy card, but Regieleki can attack with it, Lumineon can attack with it, and Rapion can attack with it realistically, so why not have it? We're playing 5 basic water energy and we're playing 3 basic lightning energy, and that just about wraps up my Regieleki VMAX deck. It streamlines Vikavolt. You want a Paralyzing Bolt as soon as you can and as often as you can. Take big one-hit knockouts with things like Starmie, or potentially using the Super Zap Cannon by discarding the Double Turbo Energy. There are a lot of multifaceted lines of play because of the versatility that Vikavolt V provides. I hope you enjoyed my Regieleki deck list. It seems to incorporate a lot of the best features from Silver Tempest, and I'm really excited to see how a deck like this shakes up the standard format. If you enjoyed my content, make sure you like the video, comment below which deck you want me to talk about next, and then subscribe to my channel and turn your notifications on so that you get an update every time that I upload content like this to my channel. I also just joined another podcast on top of Pokédex TCG in the form of PCS Podcast. Me and Justin dive into all regional and other tournament results, look at all the winning lists, talk about some other things that are rising up into the meta, notice some changes we're having, and then briefly discuss other things that are meta relevant to the Pokemon TCG. So make sure you check us out at PCS_pod on Twitter, or just PCS Podcast anywhere you listen to your podcast at. Thank you so much for listening. Deuces.